16 years after the death of Emperor Marcus Aurelius, Rome is ruled by the corrupt twin emperors Geta and Caracalla. Aurelius' vision of an ideal Rome has crumbled due to the twins' aggression, which is spreading throughout the empire and gradually causing its downfall, making the fall of the great city unavoidable. In the North African kingdom of Numidia, Hanno enjoys a peaceful life with his wife, Arishot. However, their tranquility is shattered when sirens signal an invasion by the Roman army. Upon seeing smoke rising from the city, Hanno and Arishot don their armor and join the other citizens to hear their leader, Jugurtha, devise a defense strategy. Before heading to battle, Hanno and Arishot exchange rings, vowing to protect each other. The couple joins the fighters at the city walls, and Hanno delivers an inspiring speech. Soon, Roman ships commanded by General Cassius appear on the horizon. The Numidians unleash their catapults and bows, inflicting heavy damage on the approaching ships. Undeterred, Cassius commands his troops to advance while retaliating with their own weaponry. Fire engulfs both sides, and many lives are lost within minutes. As the ships reach the fortress, the Roman soldiers lower platforms and begin their invasion. Cassius leads the charge, ruthlessly cutting down defenders with his sword. Hanno fights valiantly, killing Romans with incredible speed, while Arishot provides cover from above, skillfully shooting arrows to protect the sword fighters. When Cassius spots Arishot, he orders his archers to take aim, and she is struck down by an arrow. Hanno watches in horror as her body falls into the sea, only to be struck from behind and knocked unconscious. In his unconscious state, Hanno envisions the mythical ferryman escorting Arishot to the afterlife. He desperately tries to follow her, calling her name, but suddenly awakens to find her lifeless body nearby. Grieving, he removes the arrow from her chest, only to be captured by the Romans. Cassius claims the city for Rome, and the bodies are burned by his men. The surviving citizens, including Hanno, are branded with burning marks to signify their enslavement. The captives are then transported to Rome by ship. During the journey, Hanno notices Jugurtha is severely injured and helps tend to his wounds. Jugurtha, believing his end is near, reminisces about the day he found Hanno as a lost child in the desert. This sparks a memory in Hanno's mind. As a child, he lived with a kind family, but his mother sent him away when the Romans attacked their home. Eventually, the ships arrive at Ostia, Rome's port. Cassius is welcomed as a hero, and the twin emperors crown him with laurels. He requests a break from war to spend time with his wife, but the twins declare plans to invade Persia and India next. The slaves are taken to Antium, on the outskirts of Rome, where Macrinus supervises gladiator training. Jugurtha, Hanno, and several other slaves are released into a training arena where they must battle a group of wild baboons. Hidden soldiers shoot darts at the baboons, making them more aggressive, and the beasts quickly leap onto the slaves, attacking with their teeth. Jugurtha refuses to fight, dropping to his knees to await his fate. Hanno tries to save him, but it's too late. Jugurtha is killed. When a baboon attacks Hanno, he fends it off by putting his chains in its mouth and biting its leg. He then chokes the animal to death with his chains, impressing Macrinus, who decides to purchase him. Afterward, Hanno and his companions are taken to the barracks, where Macrinus's other slaves mock him with baboon noises. After being fed, the slaves are presented to Macrinus for evaluation. Hanno refuses to speak, prompting Macrinus to order gladiator trainer Vigo to fight him. Initially, Hanno struggles, but he soon regains his footing and defeats Vigo with remarkable skill. Following this, Hanno is brought to Macrinus's private chambers. Macrinus explains that he selects gladiators based on their anger, and Hanno has plenty of it. Hanno finally speaks, revealing his goal is to kill Cassius. Macrinus informs him that achieving that will require winning enough battles in Rome. Meanwhile, Cassius reunites with his wife, Lucilla, the daughter of the previous emperor. He confesses his frustration with the twins' tyranny, and together they begin plotting to overthrow them and restore Rome's greatness. Later, Macrinus brings Hanno to a party in the city, hosted by Senator Thrax. During the event, Hanno and one of Thrax's slaves are forced into a sword fight to the death in front of the emperors. Hanno initially refuses to kill, using furniture and other objects to attack instead. However, when his opponent refuses to surrender, Hanno reluctantly stabs him with the sword. Geta is impressed and asks Hanno about his origins, but Hanno responds with a quote from Virgil's The Aeneid about hell. Luckily, the emperors find the poetry entertaining and express excitement about seeing Hanno in the arena. After the party, Macrinus reprimands Hanno for speaking boldly in front of the emperors and demands to know where he learned such words. Hanno explains that his city once held a Roman prisoner from whom he learned stories, though Macrinus remains skeptical. To Hanno's surprise, he is paid 2 coins for the fight, discovering that gladiators can save money to buy their freedom. That night, Lucilla and Acacius secretly meet with several senators to discuss their plans to liberate Rome. Acacius asserts that the Roman army is loyal to him, and the senators agree to support his cause. A few days later, Hanno and other slaves are brought to Rome for the Gladiator games in the Colosseum. They marvel at the architecture and statues, but are also struck by the sight of poverty-stricken people in the streets. Macrinus meets with Thrax, and they agree to double their bets. At the Colosseum, the twin emperors welcome Acacius and Lucilla to the main seats as the crowd cheers for the general. After Acacius delivers a speech, the slaves are sent into the arena, where gladiator champion Gladiator enters riding a rhino. Hanno takes charge and devises a plan to avoid the rhino's attacks. Initially, the strategy works, but a slave is injured and slows down, allowing Gladiator to capture him with bolus. The rhino kills the man with its horn. Hanno rubs dirt on his hands, which reminds Lucilla of her former lover Maximus, the hero of the first movie. He throws dirt at the rhino to create a distraction, causing the beast to crash into a wall. Gladiator falls off and is injured but continues to fight Hanno. As they battle fiercely, Geta recalls Hanno's poetic quote from the party, while Lucilla picks up on it as a clue. Hanno and Gladiator exchange blows using weapons scattered around the arena. When Gladiator overpowers Hanno and knocks him down, Caracalla demands blood, but Lucilla pleads for mercy. Geta signals to spare Hanno, but Hanno declares he doesn't need Roman pity and resumes fighting. In just a few swift moves, Hanno stabs Gladiator, and the crowd begins chanting, "Kill." This time, Geta signals with a thumbs down, and Hanno decapitates Gladiator using two swords. The crowd erupts into cheers, even the other slaves chanting Hanno's name. Back in the gladiators' quarters, Dr. Ravi tends to Hanno's wounds. Meanwhile, in her private chambers, Lucilla pieces together the clues she's gathered. The quote and the gesture with the dirt confirm that Hanno is Lucius, the son she had with Maximus. When Lucius was a child, he was the legitimate heir to the throne, but Lucilla sent him away to protect him from those seeking to kill him for power. Overcome with emotion, Lucilla weeps upon realizing her lost son has returned. She invites Macrinus to share a meal, attempting to casually inquire about his slaves. However, Macrinus notices her unusual behavior and becomes suspicious. Later, Macrinus conducts his own investigation and learns that Lucilla once had a son who vanished. Rumors suggest that her late husband was not the boy's father, as he was known to prefer the company of men. This revelation helps Macrinus piece the puzzle together. That evening, Lucilla secretly slips through a hidden tunnel and meets with a senator ally who sneaks her into the gladiator's cells. Hanno admits he remembers her and his true name, but declares that Lucius is gone, leaving only Hanno behind. When Lucilla tries to explain, Hanno angrily yells at her and sends her away. Upon returning home, Lucilla confesses to Acacius that her son is alive and pleads for his help, unaware that a maid overhears their conversation. The following morning, Hanno trains with the other slaves, but Vigo, still holding a grudge, dismisses the group and forces Hanno to work the rowing mechanism alone. By the end of the day, Hanno's hands are raw, and Ravi tends to his injuries while sharing his own story. Ravi reveals he's a free man who could have returned to his homeland, but chose to stay in Rome after meeting a woman and building a new life. The next gladiator battle takes place on ships, with the arena filled with water and sharks circling below. The opponents fire flaming arrows, and when someone is hit, their body falls into the water, becoming shark bait. Hanno instructs his team to keep rowing, and once they're close enough to the enemy ship, they destroy its oars. Despite the constant barrage of arrows, Hanno's team continues rowing, gaining the upper hand. With the enemy immobilized, Hanno's ship rams into theirs, splitting it in half. Hanno and his men board the enemy ship, taking down opponents one by one. As the broken ship is pushed against the arena wall, Hanno finds himself near the main seats. He grabs a crossbow and fires at Acacius, but a fighter pushes him at the last second, causing him to miss. The arrow lands between the twin emperors, who immediately suspect a deliberate attack. After the battle, the slaves once again chant Hanno's name. Vigo confronts Hanno about the crossbow stunt, but Hanno coldly replies that Vigo should be glad the arrow wasn't meant for him. Meanwhile, Lucilla's maid reveals everything she knows to Thrax. Later, Macrinus visits Thrax to collect the winnings from their bets, but is informed that the plan to overthrow the twins has been delayed until a specific gladiator is rescued from the arena. That night, palace soldiers arrive to arrest Lucilla at her home. At the same time, Acacius and his men sneak into the gladiators' quarters to rescue Hanno. The emperor's soldiers are already lying in wait, swiftly taking down the men with arrows before capturing Acacius. The couple is brought before the twins, where Geta berates them for their treachery. Acacius, however, responds with laughter, enraging Caracalla, who grabs a sword and attempts to kill him. Geta intervenes, insisting the punishment must be public. Once the couple is confined to a cell, Macrinus points out that crucifixion is a punishment for thieves, and Acacius, being a hero, deserves a different fate. To maintain favor with the citizens, he suggests that sending Acacius to the arena would be a wiser choice. The following day, Ravi shows Hanno the shrine dedicated to gladiator champions. Hanno notices that Maximus's name has been scratched off the wall, but his armor and swords remain preserved in his grave. On the wall, Hanno reads the inscription, "What we do in life echoes in eternity." For the next gladiator event, extra guards are stationed near the main seats, and Lucilla is kept in shackles. Acacius is the first to enter the arena, facing off against soldiers of the Praetorian Guard. Despite being outnumbered and suffering a few injuries, Acacius demonstrates his skill and courage, defeating all the soldiers. Next, Hanno enters the arena to fight Acacius, leaving the crowd torn about whom to support. Both are exceptional warriors, and the battle stretches on with no clear victor. Eventually, Acacius begins to tire. Acknowledging Hanno's true identity, he drops his swords and raises his hand in surrender. Geta signals with a thumbs down, but before Hanno can strike, Acacius declares his love for Lucilla and his loyalty to Maximus. Caracalla storms out of the arena, followed by Macrinus, who seizes the moment to manipulate him. Macrinus warns Caracalla that Geta will publicly blame him for everything, inciting Caracalla to confront his brother. Fed up with sharing power, Caracalla lashes out, cutting Geta's hand. Geta halts the attack by professing his love for his brother, causing Caracalla to hesitate. Seizing the opportunity, Macrinus guides Caracalla's hand to fatally slash Geta's neck before delivering a final stab. The next morning, Lucilla visits Hanno, giving him Maximus's ring. Hanno offers his condolences, and the two reconcile with an embrace. Meanwhile, Caracalla ascends the throne and names his monkey as his first consul, with Macrinus as his second. Macrinus presents Geta's severed head to the senators, convincing them to grant him more authority as leader of the Praetorian Guard. Later, Macrinus visits Lucilla, revealing that he was once her father's slave and intends to end the imperial bloodline by becoming emperor himself. At the same time, Hanno entrusts the ring to Ravi, asking him to deliver it to Acacius's army in Ostia. Before departing, Ravi secretly hands Hanno the keys to his cell. Ravi manages to evade guards and reach the general, who agrees to assist upon recognizing the ring as belonging to Lucius, the rightful Prince of Rome. Back at the Colosseum, Vigo declares that this will be Hanno's final fight, presenting the wooden sword of freedom as the prize if he defends his mother. Hanno unexpectedly unlocks his cell, overpowers Vigo, and kills him with the wooden sword. The other slaves break free and quickly eliminate the guards. While the slaves secure the area, Hanno retrieves his father's armor and sword from his grave. He also keeps the arrow that killed Arishat, vowing vengeance. Hanno delivers an impassioned speech, rallying the slaves to fight for freedom. In the arena, he discovers Lucilla tied to a post, surrounded by rebel senators, as the crowd chants his name. Royal soldiers enter to booze from the crowd, but before they can attack, the slaves charge in to even the odds. The battle is intense, with Caracalla gleeful at the chaos while Macrinus grows frustrated. Macrinus orders reinforcements, but the cavalry is occupied defending the city from Acacius's advancing army. A few soldiers are sent into the arena, mercilessly killing slaves and senators alike. The crowd, enraged after a spectator is struck by an arrow, riots, pushing soldiers off the walls and losing more civilians in the process. Amid the turmoil, Macrinus seizes the chance to assassinate Caracalla, driving a bodkin into his ear. In the arena, Hanno fights his way to Lucilla, only for Macrinus to shoot an arrow that pierces her heart. With her dying breath, Lucilla gives Hanno words of encouragement before passing away. Determined to confront Macrinus, Hanno steals a horse and gives chase. Outside the city, Acacius's army arrives, led by Ravi, to face the Praetorian Guard. Hanno challenges Macrinus, revealing himself as Lucius, the rightful heir. The two engage in a fierce duel. Despite Macrinus's cunning, Hanno regains his strength after recalling his mother's words. He disarms Macrinus, delivers a fatal blow, and proclaims his family's vision of a perfect Rome. The soldiers, moved by Hanno's words, pledge their loyalty and cease fighting. That night, Lucius visits the arena, collects some of Lucilla's blood, and picks up dirt in his father's honor, symbolizing his journey to restore Rome.